This time we're going to take a look at 4.4. We'll call this 4.4b of factoring polynomials. To start off with right here, we're going to see and try to find out in number 15 if that binomial x plus 1 is actually a binomial in the factor x cubed minus 13x minus 12. And in order for us to do that, the easiest way other than just trying to straight divide is by using synthetic division. So what am I going to do first? Okay, let's go ahead. We're going to look at this right here, this x plus 1. And if you remember in synthetic division, we start off with the number in the top left corner. And so the number that's going to go in there is not a 1, but we're going to plug in -1. After that, we're going to go ahead and start plugging in our coefficients. We'll start with x to the third. The coefficient is 1. The next number, should I plug in -13? Sort of true, but remember, we need to go in descending order right here. So we need a placeholder for x squared, so we'll put in a 0. Then we'll go to the x and plug in -13 for our coefficient and -12. So now that we have that, let's go ahead and put all this together. We'll drop the 1 right here. And then once again, remember, we are going to be multiplying that by what's inside the top corner. So 1 times -1 is -1. We go ahead and add things up. 0 plus -1, -1. Then we have -1 times -1 gets us +1. -13 plus 1, -12. Next up, we take the -12, we multiply it by -1, and then we're left with a +12. So -12 plus 12 is 0. Guess what? We have no remainder. That's a good thing, because no remainder means the binomial is a factor. Okay. So great. So what am I going to do? I'm going to go ahead right here. I'm going to go ahead and write x plus 1. That is one of our binomials. Well, we do have all this stuff right here left. Well, then we're going to factor the function completely. This 3 numbers will represent the rest of our polynomial. Remember, we started with x to the third. We divided it by x plus 1. So then that means we're going to be left with x squared, or 1x squared, minus 1x minus 12. Now, they asked us to factor completely. So you can't imagine that this being our answer, right? You want to make sure you check. And let's figure out, are there factors of -12 that add up to -1? Okay, so you go ahead and do that, and looks like -4 and +3 work, right? -4 times 3 is -12. -4 plus 3 equals -1, our middle term. So my actual answer will be x plus 1. And then we use our binomial. We got ourselves x minus 4 times x plus 3 right there. And all of this is our factor, or is our polynomial factor completely. Pretty cool, right? I know it's not very cool, but hey, it works out, and it's, I guess when you think, once you get it, you're like, hey, it's awesome. So let's do number 16. I know I'm not selling it because it's, I know it's sometimes this stuff gets tedious, but once you figure out, hey, when it all comes together, you'll realize that this is easy. All right, so let's do this again. I've got trying to figure out, is this x minus 2 a polynomial or a binomial of, is a factor of the polynomial. So we're going to start off right here. We'll plug in the 2, and then let's go ahead. We'll plug in the coefficients. We have 6, we have 8, negative 34, and negative 12. And let's do this. We'll drop down to 6, and then we got 6 times 2 is 12. Okay, don't forget we are adding. We got 8 plus 12 is 20. So 20 times 2 is 40. We'll add this up right here. I end up with 6, and then 6 times 2 is positive 12. And negative 12 plus 12 is 0, no remainder. So that means that the x minus 2 is a factor. So let's go ahead. Let's break this down. I've got x minus 2 right here. And then I've got my polynomial. And it will begin with 6x squared plus 20x plus 6. All right. What can we do next? Well, we got to figure out, well, what are some factors that we could deal with in that second binomial or the trinomial. Yeah. Looks like right there I could factor out something. Let's see, what can be factored out right there? We could possibly factor out a 4. Can we? No. We could factor out a 2 out of all of that. Maybe that'll make things a little bit easier for us. Okay, so let me factor out a 2 right here. And so we're left with now 3x squared plus 10x. Then we have ourselves plus 3. And we still have the x minus 2. Okay, so let's not forget about that. And so what are factors of 3 and 3 right here? It's pretty much just like what we did on number 15. Let's go ahead and start plugging out some numbers. Factors of 3, 3 and 1. Factors of 3 again. Let's do 3 and 1. But I think it looks like we're going to have to put 1 and 3. So I multiply this. 3 times 3 is 9. 1 times 1 is 1. And this adds up to 10, which is our middle number. See how it all works out. So now we can go ahead and put everything together. I'll do a little reorganizing too. Since we factored out the 2, let me go ahead, I'll put that out in the very front. And then we had our binomial, x minus 2. Now we're going to deal with the stuff in green. Remember, I've got to go straight across when I write my binomial. So one of my binomials will be 3x plus 1. The other one will be x plus 3. And we have now factored it completely. So once we determine if one of the binomials is one of the factors, that will allow us to factor out everything else completely to work out these problems. Let's try next up, number 17. So we'll start off with our synthetic division up here in this corner. Hopefully you know that we're going to put down a positive 5. And then we're going to write our coefficients down. We got 2, negative 12, 6, 20, and usually we have a constant and we might need a 0 right here. We're going to go ahead and put that down. Alright, so we go through the steps. The 2 comes down. And then we got 2 times 5 is 10. Don't forget we are adding once again in synthetic division. So negative 12 plus 10 is negative 2. 5 times negative 2 is negative 10. 6 plus negative 10 is negative 4. Negative 4 times 5, negative 20. And then we end up with 0 right here. Okay. And luckily right here, we do end up with no remainder. So we can go ahead and actually leave it as is. Or actually, and just to prove that all the way through, remember 0 times 5 is going to be 0. 0 plus 0 is 0, no remainder. So I know that x minus 5 is one of our factors. So let's go ahead and write right here, x minus 5 as one of my binomials. And then next up comes 2x to the third power minus 2x squared minus 4x. And that is the rest of my trinomial. Maybe there's something we could factor out of that trinomial. And exactly, there is. What can we factor out right here? GCF of 2x. So let's rewrite this. Now I have x squared minus x. And then right here, we have ourselves minus 2. And we still have right here our x minus 5, which is not to be forgotten. So in the end, we have this trinomial here. And we got to figure out what are factors, right? Factors of negative 2 that add up to negative 1. Factors of negative 2 that add up to negative 1. Hopefully you got it. Negative 2, positive 1. So this will turn into x minus 2. We have x plus 1. And then we go ahead and rewrite everything else. We want to put that single term out in front in the 2x. And then let's write next to it, right up next to it is the x minus 5. And there is our answer, and we have factored completely. Hopefully, after this, you'll become a factoring genius, and the rest of this chapter will go easy. All right, finally, we are done with 4.4.